It's time for another edition of Mets Musings.
Hi, this is Ron Darling. This is Skip Lockwood.
Hi, I'm Ron Swoboda of the 69 New York Mets, and you're listening to Mets Musings with Gary Mack.
Now it's time for some New York Mets baseball talk. Here's Gary Mack bringing you the latest news and analysis from Mets Nation and the world of baseball on another edition of Mets Musings.
To another edition of Mets Musings. I'm Gary Mack. Hope everybody had a great 10 days or so since we last were together. Hey, baseball season's here. The Mets are here. Been catching any of the action. Yesterday's great game with deGrom and Scherzer pitching. Wow. What a performance by both of them. Could be some big things happening there if they stay healthy. Health is the whole thing. Got to stay healthy. If they can pull that off, it's going to be a terrific season. And I can't wait for the regular season to get started. Aren't you all excited? And the Mets have, everything's falling into line pretty good. They keep saying that there's a whole different professionalism and a different feeling in camp this year. And, you could kind of feel it when you watch. You see the team. They don't look as uptight. You see Showalter in the dugout. He looks like he's in control. He's taking notes. He knows directing people. He knows what he's doing. It's something that seemed lacking. The previous two managers they had just seemed nervous all the time to me. I don't know, maybe it's my imagination, but they just seemed to be nervous, like they were waiting for the other shoe to drop all the time. When Showalter's in charge, and I think that's what you need. You need the old-fashioned, manager that knows what he's doing, takes control, and all the players keep saying it's a different camp. They're excited. They can't wait to get started, and I don't think the fans can wait either to get started. So it's coming fast, couple of weeks, and we'll be there. So keep your fingers crossed. Everybody stays healthy and they get off to a good start. They're off to a good start salary-wise already because the Mets and first baseman Pete Alonso have agreed to a $7.4 million contract to avoid arbitration. This is a big move, That wraps up the first of 3 arbitration years for Alonso, who is controllable through 2024. My guess is they'll work on that's not him. There he is. They'll work on extension to sign him because you don't want to. If you want to keep him, you don't want to tie him. You want to tie him up. You don't want to have to break in somebody else or whatever. But Alonso is signed, and the other players that were up for arbitration, 13 of 14 have signed now. Mentioned Alonso. Edwin Diaz settled at $10.2 million. Chris Bassett, he did not come to terms, and he will be heading towards an arbitration hearing. Interesting what they'll do because he wasn't with the team last year. So who goes to the arbitration? Do the A's go or do the Mets go? Obviously, he's a Met now, so the Mets will probably go. But what can they, be tough for them to argue. But we'll see what they do. They might still settle before the day of the before the hearing comes around. So we'll see how that works out. And let's see, Seth Lugo, he settled at $3.925 million. So he's got a nice new contract. Miguel Castro settled at $2.62 million. Brandon Nimmo settled at $7 million. Trevor Williams settled at $3.9 million. Dominic Smith settled at $3.95 million. J.D. Davis settled at $2.76 million. Thomas Nito settled, terms currently unknown. Jeff McNeil settled at $3 million. Joey Lucchese settled at $1.15 million. Drew Smith settled, terms currently unknown. And Luis Guillorme settled at $875,000. So not a bad salary for a year's work at all. But it's good to have these guys. You don't want to be going through arbitration. It can get messy, and it's not something that you want to go through with the season coming up. And let's see, so we were talking about deGrom and his first outing. He looked really good. Sat at 97 to 99 miles per hour with his fastball. Broke off vicious sliders in his first game action. And he said he was a little nervous, but he was relieved that everything worked out and he felt good. That's good. The same thing after his second start. He was throwing all kinds of pitches. Looked very sharp. Looked very good. This is the kind of stuff we want to see. And Scherzer is just a workhorse. He's ready to go. He'll pitch 9 innings. It's his first game, I think. He pitched what? I think 5 his first outing, and I think 4 or 5 yesterday in the second outing. So he's ready to go as soon as the season starts. And we were fortunate yesterday that Starling Marte made a start. He just started hitting last week off the tee, but he's been progressing nicely. Played in the game, played a number of innings yesterday, and Showalter said they are encouraged with how he is progressing now. He's gonna play a lot now, so maybe he'll be ready for opening day. Maybe they'll hold him back a week or so, which would be understandable. There's not a problem with that. And just to make sure he's okay and ready to go. And let's see, James McCann, he has not played, and Showalter revealed that he had some back issues. He's had back issues in the past, and but the manager said that the team isn't too concerned, and McCann likely would have been out there if it were a regular season game. So I guess they're just going to take it easy with him and make sure that everything's okay. Don't want to stress anything, Nito caught Scherzer and deGrom, very important, and had a pretty good day at the plate. He got a couple of hits, a double and a home run. So he did win a batting title, so who knows? He could be starting the season strong. Francisco Alvarez continues to shine, but don't expect to see him up. He's 20 years old. I don't know if you'll see him at all this year. Definitely next year. I think he will be vying for the starting catcher slot. I'm not sure about this year. They might feel if they need a backup, they may bring him up. But, they have Mazikas and other guys, Hayden Senga, who's been playing pretty good ball. So we'll see what they decide there. But hopefully McCann can come back because they could use him for this season, and I think this is the last year of his contract. I think he signed a 2-year contract, so this will be the second year of that. So we'll see how that shakes out. All right, let's take a break and we'll be back with some more Mets news right after this.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for interesting baseball talk, opinions, and history.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for barbecue recipes, tips, and interviews from the world of barbecue. If you like baseball and if you like barbecue, then tune in to Baseball and BBQ. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and BaseballTalkRadio.com.
Wouldn't it be great if you could get a PhD in life through baseball? Welcome to Baseball PhD, a tour company for your brain. 30 major league teams, 100 places to see. Let's touch them all as we make the road trip of a lifetime.
Follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/MetsMusings, on Twitter at MetsMusingsGM, the Instagram is MetsMusings, and on YouTube at MetsMusings Mack. Wish to be a part of the show? Give us a call at 516-619-6341. And we're back. And the Mets sent a bunch of players down in the last 2 weeks. Mark Vientos, Ronnie Mauricio, Travis Blankenhorn, outfielders Khalil Lee and Nick Plummer, catcher Patrick Mazeika, and right-handed pitcher Jose Butto were all optioned to the minor league camp. Notably, the Mets' top 2 prospects, Brent Batty and Francisco Alvarez, remain in big league camp and continue to get some playing time. So that's pretty neat that those guys are impressing. So pitchers Jordan Yamamoto and Thomas Zapucki were previously optioned to the minors by the Mets. But as I said, Francisco Alvarez and Brett Batty remain in the big league camp. So keep an eye out on those guys. They really are being, impressing. And who knows, both young guys and could use a little bit more seasoning. Batty played as high as AA last year. Might have gotten to AAA for a brief spell. Alvarez was playing in Brooklyn most of the season, and will probably had a taste of AA. Will probably start at AA. I would think he wouldn't be there more than a couple of months, and then go to AAA if he's performing, of course. And same thing with Batty and Vientos. I would imagine starts the year in AAA. Mauricio, almost like the unforgotten prospect who had a real good year last year. He's got really no place to go. Shortstop is tied up. Second base looks like it's going to be tied up. Third base is going to be tied up with either Vientos or Batty. So Mauricio, I think they're going to start moving him around. Excuse me. I think is a possibility they might play him in center field. They could move him to second base. I think they're going to use him around and see what he can do. We'll see, how the minor league season goes, what they decide to do with Ronnie Mauricio. But another good prospect. But they really like Alvarez and Batty, and Alvarez in particular has really been, he's impressed. He's opened some eyes. He's definitely needs some seasoning. Same thing with Batty. But they've opened some eyes, and that's what you want to do when you're in your first big league camp. You want to, even though you're a prospect and a high prospect, you want to open the eyes of the management team. You want them to keep looking at you. You don't want them to forget about you or anything like that. And these guys definitely, especially when they're watching you at the minor league level. They know you're playing well, and they know what your stats are, and they know you're good, and they're keeping their eye on you. But when you go to camp, and they actually see you on a day-to-day basis, and they see, instead of watching film or flying into town watching one game when you may have a bad game, when they see you over a period of time, it makes a big difference to the scouts and to the front office. And they get a feel to what type of person you are, and all that kind of stuff plays into it. So don't let them tell you that it doesn't. But it does. And they've been opening eyes. So good on them. Congratulations. Got to get used to getting some youth on this team and mixing it up with some good veterans, and that's how you build championship teams. All right, we are going to be able to see everybody play because New York City has lifted the private sector COVID vaccine mandate that has kept Kyrie Irving from playing in home games this season for the Brooklyn Nets. Mayor Eric Adams announced that unvaccinated professional athletes will be allowed to play in the city. He did reverse the private sector vaccine mandate specifically for performers and pro athletes. They had to throw in the performers there, I guess, just to cover himself. So what does it mean? That means that unvaccinated Mets and Yankee players, as well as Nets or, Rangers or anybody else, can play at home games at Citi Field and Yankee Stadium. If you remember, we talked last time about they couldn't. And it opened up a lot of questions. The HEPA laws and all that kind of thing. The team doesn't tell you who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. And how this law stayed in effect, you would essentially known who was and was not because they couldn't play at home. So, it was a stupid rule from the beginning, and Mayor Adams is changing it, and let's move on from there. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's show. Hope you enjoyed it, and I want to thank you for listening and watching, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Castbox, or if you're watching the show on YouTube, hit that subscribe and like button. It helps us, and it helps the analytic people at YouTube. They're very happy when you hit the like button, as well as I am. So please, if you do that, hit the subscribe and like button. It helps us to get an idea of how the show is growing. It helps me grow the community and expand to new listeners. So, season is a couple of weeks away. We are closing in on it. May have another signing or two. Mets are supposedly interested in left-handed reliever Tony Watson. We'll see how that, if they get him. Michael Conforto's still out there. Steve Cohen, if you're listening. We'll see how that goes. But it's getting close and it's getting exciting now. So, get your warm clothes out if you're going to Citi Field early in April or even in May. Those games get pretty cold at night. So, remember to do that. And also remember to keep the faith, stay optimistic, and let's go Mets. And I'll see you next time on another edition of Mets Musings.